So it looks like the Miami Heat are actually open to trading Jimmy Butler and are willing to listen to trade offers from other NBA teams. We can see it here reported by Shams and posted by NBA Central. The Miami Heat are open to listening to trade offers for Jimmy Butler. And it also says Butler is open to playing for the Dallas Mavericks, Houston Rockets, and Golden State Warriors. But it also says here in the blob that, he's looking to play for a win now and a title contender. And those three teams do sort of fit the bill. The Dallas Mavericks and the Golden State Warriors are trying to win now and trying to compete, where the Rockets still have a really good record, a really good young core, and they're also trying to compete in the Western Conference as well. So in this video, I want to talk about some trade packages I could see for Jimmy Butler from these three teams, and also just who I think Jimmy Butler would, like what team would be the most impacted by Jimmy, and what team I think I could see him going to, and which team I want Jimmy Butler to go to out of these three. So the main problem for the Dallas Mavericks, if they do want to try to make a trade package for Jimmy Butler, is definitely the money, right? Because Jimmy Butler is making $48 million a year, and the only realistic trade packages I could see from the Dallas Mavericks are guys like Jaden Hardy and Omax, right? Those are their two good young players that I do think the Heat would potentially be interested in trading for, but that money just doesn't make any sense, only for $4 million. If you're looking at the rest of this Dallas Mavericks team, that would make sense to trade for Jimmy. Maybe a Maxi Kleba. He could obviously be offered, but then still, you're only looking at 15 to 16 million dollars between these three players, and Jimmy Butler's making a lot more than that. So I think money wise and contract wise, it just doesn't make sense for the Dallas Mavericks. They would have to probably throw like a PJ Washington as well in that deal, and maybe some other players. Like, I just don't think they can make it work with the, assets they have, right? The money wise, it just doesn't make sense. So the Dallas Mavericks probably seems like the most unrealistic trade destination for Jimmy Butler, even though I think it would probably actually make the most sense if Jimmy Butler were to go to the Mavs, because the Mavs really don't have any good, paint or perimeter defenders, I should say. They have really good paint defenders, but they don't really have any good point of attack defenders, guys that can clamp up the other team's best guard or wing. And I think Jimmy Butler would be the best trade destination for him. I think he would do really, really good on the Mavs, and he would be super impactful and super valuable. But I just don't think the contracts work. I just don't think it makes sense. But the other teams we do have to talk about here is the next one I want to talk about is the Golden State Warriors, because this one to me makes a little bit more sense than the Dallas Mavericks, because I think they have better assets, they have better contracts to work with. I think the first name they would have to throw, doesn't make a lot of money, is Jonathan Kuminga, obviously for Jimmy Butler here. So contracts don't make any sense, but Jimmy Butler, Jonathan Kuminga, I do think, even though he's not having a good year this year, I do think he's still a really, really good young player and is going to develop into an all-star caliber player once he does reach his peak. So Jonathan Kuminga, I think, is a good centerpiece to build around if you're the Golden State Warriors, looking to trade for him, looking to trade him. But then you got to look at contracts, because once again, there's just not a lot of money to be thrown around here. I mean, would the Heat even take DeAnthony Melton because he's injured? They just don't have a lot of money to throw at them. I think the other player they potentially could trade is Pods. He hasn't had a great year in year number 2, but is still a really good rookie, really good young player, I should say. So this one, again, it just doesn't make so much sense money-wise. I don't see them throwing a Draymond Green or an Andrew Wiggins, maybe a Melton to make the money work, but still, Jimmy Butler is making so much money that I'm just not sure if I can see any of these trades happening just because of the contract. But I think if the Warriors wanted to trade for Jimmy Butler, it would have to be around Jonathan Kuminga or Pods. I think these two guys are the two really good young players they have on this team, and I think it would make sense for the Warriors. They would get another superstar caliber player alongside Steph Curry, and they do need defense as well, right? They don't have a lot of perimeter defense, just like the Dallas Mavericks. So I think it would make sense for the Golden State Warriors. Would it make sense for the Miami Heat? I'm not really sure, because I don't think contracts could even align. But even if the contracts could align, I'm not sure if the Miami Heat would want Jonathan Kuminga or Podziemski. But I do think the Warriors have a little bit more to offer than the Dallas Mavericks. But the last team here, which I think this team here has probably the most assets to give to the Warriors. But again, is it going to make sense money-wise? Because you're going to throw young players, right? Like, you're probably going to throw Tari Eason. You're probably going to throw Cam Whitmore. And these guys are only making about $3 million each per year, where Jimmy Butler, once again, is making close to $50 million. So they'd probably have to throw, what, not Fred VanVleet because I don't see them doing that, but they'd probably have to throw like a Dylan Brooks potentially. But then even if you try this trade, it's still gonna fail because Jimmy Butler's just making too much money. So it's hard to really see Jimmy Butler getting traded to these teams because the contracts just don't make sense. But again, if it were to happen, I'm not an NBA GM. I don't know how all of this stuff works when it comes to the trades and the money contracts align. But I think these are some of the players I could see being traded to the Miami Heat. I think the Rockets would be sort of willing to throw Tari Eason, Cam Whitmore, right? Some of these guys on the team that they have so many good young players and they're such a deep team that I think it would make sense for the Rockets if the contracts and everything could align. They trade Atari East and a Cam Whitmore and maybe a couple first round picks. I think that would be a fair package for the Miami Heat. So let me know in the comment section down below. Where do you guys see Jimmy Butler going? Do you think any three of these teams make sense? The Mavs, the Rockets, and the Golden State Warriors. I do think it makes sense for a lot of these teams, but I'm just not sure contract-wise if any of these are going to pan out. But let me know in the comment section down below, where do you guys think Jimmy Butler is going to end up? And also let me know, where do you guys want to see Jimmy Butler end up if he does end up getting traded? But exciting news in the NBA. I'm very, very excited to see over the next couple weeks and month, how this trade proposals and trade offers do progress for Jimmy Butler. But hopefully you guys did enjoy the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.